One of Trump's rivals for the nomination is a close friend of Senator McCain. Senator Lindsey Graham joined McCain Monday at a town hall in New York. They discussed the Iran nuclear deal. Graham is also strongly defending his longtime Capitol Hill colleague.
Graham himself recently retired from the Air Force Reserve, and we're pleased to have him back in the studio. Welcome.
Good morning.
So explain to us what you think this Donald Trump phenomenon is about. Is it celebrity, or is he saying something that has a response within your party?
Well, I hope there's not much of a market for slandering POWs in my party. I don't think there is. I don't need a poll to tell Donald Trump it's not good to say that John McCain's a loser because he was captured in a time of war. It's not good to say that 11 million illegal immigrants are rapists and drug dealers when they're not. All I can say is that this is turning into a circus. And there comes a point in time.
Damaging the party.
Yeah, I don't care if he drops out. Stay in the race. Just stop being a jackass. You don't have to run for president and be the world's biggest jackass. That's not your choices.
But Senator McCain says he doesn't have to apologize to me. He has to apologize to the veterans.
Well, John's not looking for an apology. I'm not looking for him to drop out. I'm looking for him to be a responsible member of the 16-person primary and not stop saying stuff like this. The world is falling apart. We're becoming Greece. The Ayatollah is on the verge of having a nuclear weapon, and you're slandering anybody and everybody to stay in the news. You know, run for president, but don't be the world's biggest jackass.
What's the reaction you're getting to calling him jackass now repeatedly?
A lot of people are, are offended. That jackasses are offended. So all I can say is that, I've had it. Come on, I've had it. John's my friend. He's not a perfect person. He was tortured for five and a half years. When they asked, Trump, well, do you know what he went through in jail? No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter. It really does matter.
Why do you think, Senator Graham, then, that he's rising in the polls?
Oh, I think that's the beginning of the end has come.
The beginning.
The beginning of the end has arrived because he's crossed a line with the American people that won't be tolerated. There's frustration with the border, but there's very little frustration concerning those who have been captured in a time of war. This is the beginning of the end of Donald Trump.
And there's some question about whether he's rising in the polls because the new ABC News Washington Post poll on the last day of sampling, he did fall after he'd made those comments about Senator McCain. Trump is in your home state today.
Yeah.
He's in Bluffton, South Carolina, where there's a large population of veterans. How do you think he'll be received?
Well, I don't know how he'll be received. The motto of our state is smiling faces, beautiful places. I don't think he quite fits that motto. I'm sure there'll be some people who'll say, keep it up, Donald, but I think most South Carolinians, since I've lived there all my life, will be offended by what he said regarding Senator McCain, his tone. We're pretty serious people.
How is this sideshow going to end?
His poll numbers begin to drop. Everybody's condemning him. Thank goodness that everybody in the field, I think except one, has distanced themselves from him. It ends when the American people say, enough.
Have you said anything to him, to Donald Trump?
No.
You haven't called him and said, look, knock it off?
No, well, what good would that do? Calling Donald Trump. I'm more worried about the Iran nuclear deal than I am Donald Trump. And so is John McCain. John McCain said to me, I'm having to talk about Donald Trump rather than Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon because of a horribly bad deal. The president went to the UN instead of his own Congress. That's a sign of weakness, disrespect, and a bad deal. Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force that killed 500 Americans at least with copper-tipped IEDs, has been taken off the sanctions list. And we can't talk about that because of Donald Trump. To the American people, this is a bad deal. It's going to lead to a nuclear arms race. Let's please move on to things that matter.
Are there enough votes in Congress to override a presidential veto?
I think there will be. A no vote ensures that the next president, whoever he or she may be, will have leverage. If congressional sanctions are left in place, then the next president can get a better deal. We can get a better deal. We must get a better deal. A yes vote takes the congressional sanctions off the table. The next president has no leverage, and that's very bad for us in Israel.
Senator, why do you think the president feels so strongly about this and is convinced that this is the only deal that's possible, the best deal that's possible, and the only way to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon?
Because
what is it about this president?
He's the Neville Chamberlain of our time.
Neville Chamberlain?
Please.
Appeasement?
Yes, he's the Neville Chamberlain of our time who believes that over the next 15 years, Iran is going to change their behavior because this deal doesn't require them to do a damn thing in terms of changing their behavior. At the end of 15 years, all inspections are lifted. And here's his bet. I don't think he's a bad man. I think he misunderstands the world and the Mideast. At the end of 15 years, they can get a nuclear weapon with no strings attached. He thinks they're going to change over the next 15 years for the better. Look at the last 1,000 years, and you'll get a good idea of what they're going to do in the next 15 years. He's dangerously naive. He called the ISIL the JV team. He drew a line against Assad. Assad crossed it. Nothing happened. I think his foreign policy's in a shambles, and this deal is just a natural continuation of a man who doesn't understand the Mideast.
All right.
And you think we're becoming Greece?
I think, well, yeah, we're going to, when the baby boomers retire, we're going to wipe out Medicare and Social Security. By 2030, all the taxes we pay are going to go to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and interest on the debt, unless you do something like Simpson Bowles.
All right, Senator Lindsey Graham, good
Thank
to
you.
have you here at the table.
Thank you.
And we will have live coverage of Trump's remarks in South Carolina at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central on our 24-hour digital network, CBSN. You can watch at cbsnews.com/live or on the CBS News app.